The second square for the month is our stripes square, and it is just as simple as stripes. We're going to just pick 3 colors, and I showed you the 3 colors that I chose, those 3 new colors, the Darling, the iCat, and the Boho. And we're going to cast on 32 stitches with one of those colors. It doesn't really matter which one you use because you're going to pretty much repeat this all the way throughout. You'll use about the same amount of yarn, and you're going to choose one of those colors. You're going to follow the chart, and you're just going to basically knit a row, purl a row in one color, knit a row, purl a row in another color, knit a row, purl a row in the third color, and then repeat that chart. And you're going to repeat the stitches that are between the red lines or the stars, although really it's just knit on the right side, purl on the wrong side, 5 times. But again, you're just going to knit a row, purl a row, and then you're going to repeat the chart, the whole chart, 6 times, and then you'll work rows 1 through 4 again before you bind off. And the only reason that we're doing that is to try to get to our 6-inch squares. So remember, if you have more fabric or less fabric, just keep working until you get to that 6-inch square. Now I'm going to cast on and knit and purl the first 4 rows, and then, well, actually probably the first 6 rows, and then I'm going to show you how I strand color up the side so that you can keep your colors going and not have to cut and tie your yarn every, well, 6 rows. So let me go ahead and start this pattern, then I'll be back with you in a little bit. With the first 6 rows worked, you can see how the striping is progressing. And you can also see that I have 3 balls of yarn that are hanging off of this side. And now I need to use my blue yarn, because that was what I started with, that lovely iCat. And in order to use that ball, what I need to do is I need to wrap the pink and the red strands around it. And so all I'm going to do is make certain that these pink and red strands have been wrapped around my blue once. And then I'm going to go ahead and just use my blue like normal. And what that will do is that will bring both strands of the yarn that I'm not currently working with up the side. And I'm going to do that each time I start a new stripe with a color. And I'm going to just continue to carry those yarns along. And again, just making sure that I've wrapped them once around that yarn. And all that will do is it'll lock them in along the edge, and it will allow the yarn to travel up the side so that I don't have to cut my colors and weave in a bunch of ends every time I switch colors in this blanket square. So all I have done again is just wrap those 2 colors of yarn around my working color, and I'll continue to do that all the way up the side of my square so that, as you see, they just strand as they move up the side, and I don't have to cut my yarns and put my tails in each time I change stripes. So hopefully this has given you an idea of what to do so that you can work this blanket square with fewer ends to put in, because we all love stripes, and I really love the look of these 2x2x2 row stripes, but having to put the ends in for every color, every other row would certainly be a daunting task. So hopefully using my little trick and just twining those 2 strands up the side will keep your blanket square neat and tidy. Just remember that as you're working, not to pull it too tight, because you don't want a really tight edge when you go to sew this into our blanket. And we are only a few months from the end of our blanket and from my last video on the blanket squares. So I hope that you have been enjoying the journey, and I will see you in November for a few more fun squares.